Let's shift a little bit to Cirrus. So what's unique about some of their aircraft, and what are they on the cutting edge of right now?
Aerodynamics and safety. They've always been there on the aerodynamic side.
Yeah, that parachute, that thing is, that's awesome. That makes me feel like, I could go fly a plane, maybe, as long as I just can deploy the parachute whenever.
And they've had quite a number of deployments. I forget what the total number is now, but you can just go on YouTube and see the deployments because people catch them falling from the sky with a parachute and landing on highways and things of that nature. But the parachute system is one of the early safety features that was in the Cirrus, and it works on a rocket. And a parachute is behind the passenger area of the aircraft, and there's straps built into the composite structure of the aircraft. So as the rocket shoots up and the parachute deploys, it pulls these straps out of the outer shell of the fuselage, I'll call it, and it ties into the metal framework that's in the middle. Those are the lift points for the aircraft, and then it just drifts down to Earth. That was a very early selling point for Cirrus, and I think it really set them apart. Obviously, you're going to eat the weight, and you're going to eat the complexity of having that system. And also, there's some sort of funky legal things you'd worry about, like if someone deployed it improperly or someone pulled the handle and it didn't deploy, sort of thing. So there's a lot of, I'm sure there's a lot of detail work going into that system, but it's saved a lot of lives at this point because occasionally a Cirrus pilot will get in the wrong place at the wrong time, or will have some sort of the pilot will have a medical condition, and a passenger will pull the parachute and land the thing. It essentially destroys the aircraft, but you can walk away from it. That's huge. And
really? Why does it destroy the aircraft?
Because it's actually pulling parts of the fuselage apart, and it uses the landing gear, which are always out. It uses the landing gear as part of the shock absorption system. The landing gear just can't take because you're falling at a pretty good rate still. Even with the parachute, you're still falling at a pretty good rate. So the landing gear kind of gets banged up pretty hard, and it's just not made to take those stresses, because it's not necessarily, you're not landing on soft, cushiony pillows. You're probably landing in a very rocky area or in a wooded area, so the airplane's going to get beat up as it lands in that. Yeah.
And then you got to throw it in the trash. That's so sad. That's so sad.
The most important thing about any landing is to be able to walk away.
At least you're not dead.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. A good landing is one you walk away from. That's the rule. And in that case, fair. It's more important at the end of the day that an airplane is a tool, and the tool should not kill you. Hopefully, that's part of the way we design them. And having the added feature of the parachute system really adds another level of safety to maybe pilots that don't have that much flight experience. And it does bring more people into like you said, it does bring people into the ability, like, hey, I could fly the Cirrus. Not only does it have advanced avionics, it's always had great avionics and a very docile handling characteristics, but it's also got this added thing, like if I screw up as a pilot, I'm not going to, kill my family in this thing. We're all going to walk away from it. That adds a level of confidence that it probably makes a lot of sales for them.
Unless you consider the aircraft part of your family, in which case it does not walk away. It dies.
The aircraft is going to die, yes.
Yeah, you have to put your aircraft in a little cardboard box and bury them in the backyard, just like your gerbil, and maybe have a little candlelight vigil, and then go watch Netflix.
Watch Netflix,
and be sad.
Order some Chinese, yes.
Well, so speaking of which, Cirrus has another super cool safety feature on their Vision jet. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about their Safe Return Auto Land system.
So the Safe Auto Land system, and everybody's got to go to YouTube and check out this, and we ought to include the show notes.
It's an impressive video for sure.
Yeah, it's extremely well done, and it lays out exactly how the system works, because there's really nothing like it on the market. And there's a button in the cockpit, just behind the cockpit, so passengers can touch this button, but it's essentially a big red button that says, "Land me." You press the button, the autopilot takes over, and that's a Garmin airplane, so Garmin does the avionics for it. The system locates the nearest airport, puts out the distress code, and flies the airplane to the airport, lands it, stops it on the runway, stops the engine, and you walk out of it. That is a unbelievable engineering feat, and to get it certified is even better. because there's so much complexity to not having a pilot in the loop. First of all, you got to know where you're flying to. So you could be in the middle of, say you're in the middle of the Rocky Mountains, and you punch this button. It has to determine a very safe path based on the topology that is around you and the weather. I think it does check weather.
Yep, it does.
And then it's finding a pathway, and then it's squawking out a code which is, hey, I'm in trouble, I need emergency services on the ground. And the FAA, the flight controllers immediately start talking to you because you have an emergency, and you go to the top of the list of the priorities. So the airplane just continues to fly, and I believe it actually tells the people in the cabin what's happening. Like, it's going to be 10 minutes until we land. It's 5 minutes until we land, and provides those sort of feedback so they know that something is positive is happening. And the video is fantastic, which is, it just shows the aircraft, and it has a pilot obviously sitting in the left seat with his hands crossed and not touching the controls, and people in the back, and the thing just lands itself on the runway, stops, shuts itself down. That's it.
Yeah, and one of the things that it does on the instrumentation, which is, like LED panels, they switch into passenger mode. So once you hit that button, instead of having the complex avionics showing up there, it switches into passenger mode. So it's just like simple commands, like push this button to talk to, like air traffic control, or it just switches into layman mode essentially, which is cool. So you can look at those and get instructions, like you said, and has some simple commands and stuff that you can do as a passenger. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah,
it is, because that's a single engine turbofan aircraft. So it's not a twin engine aircraft. It's sort of like the PC-12, but it's a turbofan. It's a quote unquote jet engine, not a propeller airplane. And if anything were about to happen, obviously it would take you down and land you. Yeah.
So, is this the future? Are we going to have Johnny Cab, like in the movie Total Recall, where you just stroll up to your plane and adios? Or is this just going to be for kind of emergencies?
Oh, it's totally headed towards automated flight. Why wouldn't it be? You can be in any place on the planet and have an emergency, and it can land you any place on the planet, and I think that's what it does. Then why can't it take off and land you? They totally can do that.
Yeah, then you could start a ride-hailing company called Lyft. Oh man, wouldn't
Uber?
that be good? Yeah.
Yeah. They can definitely do that, and I think the goal of all those automated pilot systems is to get the knowledge. And Garmin is a very advanced avionics electronics company, and they've always been sort of pushing the envelope in what they can deliver to the pilot. And if they can get to that next stage, boy, oh boy, look out. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if they're not working with all the different autonomous flight companies right now. Totally shocked if they're not working with them.